Good evening, folks. So we got a few things tonight we want to talk about, okay? Number one, the Indiana Fever made a personnel move today. Looking forward already to the new season. They added Rob Dozier to the staff as a player development coach. He will be working alongside fellow player development coach Keith Porter. And it was immediately picked up and reposted by Caitlin Clark, who welcomed him to the staff. And then it was also reposted by Lexi Hull. So Dozier has previously spent time in the coaching staff of the G teams, the G League teams of both the Washington Wizards and the Indiana Pacers. So he will be sharing the player development load with Keith Porter. And that's a pretty good move. That's an important position, in my opinion. So that's number one. Number two, I want to dispel this gigantic myth that the Indiana Fever prevented Caitlin Clark from working out with LeBron James's trainer. That is not true. That is not true. He was, in fact, invited by Caitlin Clark to come to Indiana. He declined to travel to Indiana. She declined to travel to New York. She declined to travel to New York and leave her team, even though she was injured and not playing. The Indiana Fever did not prevent Caitlin Clark from doing any of that. I have researched this now for several days. Okay? He chose not to travel to Indiana, and yet he expresses this incredible desire to want to work with her on his terms. So he's hoping she can come to New York in the off season. We'll see if she does that. She has not ruled it out, and she has not confirmed that she's going to do it. Okay? So all of this underwear twist over this guy, just because he trained LeBron James and a few other NBA guys. If he wanted to work with Caitlin Clark all that much, he could have come out to Indiana, where she is, rather than thinking that she was going to leave her team to go to New York. She was on the floor for every single game, even though she wasn't playing. That was her role at that point. And by the way, let's dispel another myth here. She never rejected the Indiana Fever trainers. She has indeed been working with them. All of this time, what she did was get a second opinion, which is what anyone who has an injury like that is entitled to. But she never stopped working with the Fever staff. Never. Okay? Let's dispel all of this nonsense, okay? Because all of this stuff comes from content creators who don't give a shit if they're telling you the actual truth. She never said the words, "They don't care if I get hurt." Yet that's what they say she said. She has never said that. Never said that. Do you think that sounds like Caitlin Clark, actually? Can people really get a grip here? So no, Caitlin Clark never stopped working with the Indiana Fever staff. Never rejected them. Never refused to work with them. She also was not kept from working with this guy in New York. I don't even remember what his name is, and I don't really care, because everybody gets wet behind the ears just because he trained LeBron James. Caitlin Clark is in the off season now. She is totally free to travel to New York if she so desires to work with this guy. She has not said that she will. She has made Team USA her priority. So that's where we are right now. It's not out of the question, but she's not making a commitment at this time. That's where we are, okay? As if this guy is some kind of magic. He's a magic man. He's going to make sure she never gets injured again. She's got a long career ahead of her in the WNBA. This will not be the first time she's been injured. And by the way, there have been a myriad of players injured this year. She's not the only one with injuries. There were 5 other players on her team that were injured. Katie Lou Samuelson missed a year. Other players have been out for the year. This is pro sports. Okay? That's where we are with that one. Now, the notion that we should be positioning the officiating problem as Caitlin Clark needs protection is absurd. There is no one that's going to take that seriously. Caitlin Clark has not stated that she needs protection. You state that she needs protection. The officiating problem is the real problem here, because none of this would be happening if they blew the whistle consistently, if they called the flagrant 2 foul on the day of the foul and threw the player out of the game, if there were real repercussions for their actions in the game, then all of this, I promise you, not all of it would go away, because there's always going to be dirty players. There were always dirty players in the NBA when I was watching Bird. But they didn't get away with this. The officiating problem is a problem for the WNBA and its primary owner to work out, which is, the NBA, whose officials are employees of the NBA, get paid a decent salary, are trained and retrained, are heavily supervised, and yet the NBA can't seem to make that a priority for the women, just like they can't make fair sharing of the pie for the women a priority for them. Let's face it, that's where we are right now. There is a league-wide officiating problem. People who want to make this a we must protect Caitlin Clark problem, that will never be taken seriously. This is a league. It is not a fan club. The reason people do the shit they do is because they are allowed to get away with it. That is human nature. The more you let them get away with it, the more they do it. I work with people like that every single day. You let them walk into your place of business, sit down and sit there all day and scroll through their phones. On a Monday, they'll come in and do it on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, and then they'll bring it into the following week. That's how this works. The league has an officiating problem that needs to be addressed. And there have been a myriad of players who have brought this up, not just Caitlin Clark, not just Sophie Cunningham, but plenty of other players and coaches, Becky Hammond, Stephanie White. This is a league problem that must be addressed by the league. But if you are waiting for the league to say, we need to protect Caitlin Clark because she's our star. Well, I don't know. Where are you people coming from? Did you ever see that happen in the NBA? Because I'm curious about that. Because I never saw that happen. And I watched Michael Jordan get targeted. I watched Larry Bird get targeted. I never heard any of them come out and say we need to protect Larry Bird because he's our superstar. He's our GOAT. I never heard them say it about Michael Jordan either. When they started blowing the whistle, the shit stopped. That's what needs to happen now. So please don't yell at me in all capital letters, because I do know what I'm talking about. I spend a significant amount of time on this. Now, oh, it just came to me. What's his name? Chris something, right? Yeah, Chris something, right. Well, if Chris something wants to work with Caitlin Clark, he knows where to find her. And the reason he wants to work with her, why? Why do you think that might be? Because that's just about as big as working with LeBron James. She'd be a feather in his cap. She's not stupid. She knows that. So whether she chooses to travel to New York to do that is up to Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever certainly isn't stopping her. The question is, does she have time for that? So, lastly, let's talk about a video here, a little video. We'll talk about some of the comments that came from various people in the sport of women's basketball about Caitlin Clark. And I'm showing you this video so you understand that while there are some people who are jealous of Caitlin Clark, it is not the vast majority of the league. Okay? In fact, I would say that a lot of the league has come around to understand that a rising tide does indeed lift all boats. Kelsey Mitchell said that if it weren't for Caitlin Clark, she would never be getting the recognition she's getting now. Some people do get it. And yet, a lot of people want to foster this notion that Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark can't play together on the basketball court, when every single goddamn film I've ever seen of them playing proves that they can play together just fine. And in fact, they look pretty damned unstoppable together on the court. And that is why they want Kelsey Mitchell back so badly for next season. So let's take a look at this video. And again, this will be in the description of the video.
I said, I sure am glad you leaving. I said, girl, you something else. Never seen anything like it.
Since Caitlin Clark exploded into the spotlight, the reaction across basketball has been unlike anything we've seen before. From college coaches to WNBA legends, everyone who's crossed paths with her has ended up saying the same thing. She's different.
Caitlin Clark, if you're out there, you are one of the GOATs of our games, and we appreciate you.
I think what she's doing for that team right now is pretty impressive.
I mean, Caitlin demands so much respect out there and attention, and that's what we did.
And when you listen to what they've said, you start to understand why her rise isn't just about points or highlights. It's about impact. It started in college, when the numbers alone forced people to pay attention. But what really changed things was how other coaches talked about her. Kim Mulkey, known for her fierce competitiveness and fiery sideline energy, admitted before facing Iowa that there was no stopping Clark. She said, "You don't stop her. You just try to contain her." Even after her LSU team won the national title, Mulkey didn't gloat. She called Clark a nightmare to guard. and said that kid can flat out play.
You got to guard her. Nobody else seems to be able to guard her. We didn't even guard her last year when we beat them. She's just a generational player, and she just makes everybody around her better. That's what the great ones do. I think they had a kid that scored 21 and 18. She had 12 assists. Caitlin Clark's not going to beat you by herself. It's what she does to make those other teammates better that helps her score points and them score points to beat you.
That was early proof that Caitlin wasn't just another scorer. She was earning respect from one of the toughest coaches in basketball. Then came Dawn Staley from South Carolina, one of the best defensive minds in the sport. She had game plan for Clark, thrown everything at her, and still watch her drop shot after shot. After that Final Four matchup, Staley said it plainly. She's special. She hit shots that good defense couldn't stop.
I only coached against Caitlin twice, right? Both times she had over 30, right? I don't know if there's a player that I coached against that had 30 points against us in the two times that they played. Both one's a win and one's a loss. I would say she's probably the most difficult to scout, to play against, in that she can beat you a variety of ways.
That statement summed up what everyone was starting to realize. Clark wasn't just making tough shots. She was redefining what a tough shot even meant. When a coach like Staley, who's built entire teams on defense, says you're unstoppable, that's real praise. Gino Arima, who coached UConn legends like Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, and Breanna Stewart, also spoke up. He said, I don't think there's anyone in the country who can guard her one-on-one.
This kid, she's fearless. She just plays. She just is like a little kid in in a driveway playing with her friends. Yeah, she's unique in that way.
And coming from a man who's coached some of the greatest offensive talents in women's basketball history, that's not small talk. He knows what generational talent looks like, and he saw it in Clark. Even Jeff Walls from Louisville, who's known for being brutally honest, said after facing her, she made shots we didn't even think were real shots. He added, she makes everyone else dangerous. Walls said her court vision made her team more unpredictable and harder to scout. That's the kind of compliment you only give to players who elevate everyone around her. By the time she finished her college career, most coaches weren't just preparing to face her. They were preparing to witness something. And one coach said it in the most human way possible. After facing Iowa, she laughed and said, there's not a whole lot of strategy. You just got to guard her. Nobody else seems to be able to. Then she added, I sure am glad you're leaving. Girl, you're something else. Never seen anything like it. That one quote captured what so many opponents felt. They respected her game because they felt it up close.
What did I say to her? I said, I sure am glad you leaving. I said, girl, you something else. Never seen anything like it.
When Clark entered the WNBA, many wondered if that respect would follow. It did almost instantly. Her transition wasn't perfect, but the reaction from her new opponents said everything. Players and coaches who had every reason to test her instead found themselves impressed. Minnesota Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeve, who's also Team USA's head coach, summed it up best. Before facing Clark, she said, what I've seen from her, even back in college, is that she plays at an incredible pace. And pace can get you really far. She continued, her pace and passing are her two greatest things. I know the sexier part is the logo threes, but the pace and the passing are what make her exceptional. Then she added something that shows just how big the Caitlin effect had become. She became a roadshow. Every city she's in, people show up. I don't remember seeing that before.
The NBA's had their players that people come to see, right? So they won't sell tickets. There are certain games that they know people are going to come watch certain players. Caitlin Clark and give us that.
From a veteran coach like Reeve, that's not just admiration. It's recognition that Clark is changing the economics and atmosphere of the league itself. And Reeve wasn't alone. Dallas Wings head coach Latricia Trammell faced Clark early in the season and walked away impressed. She's phenomenal, Trammell said. She makes everyone around her better. Her vision, her confidence, it's elite. She admitted her team had to adjust mid-game because Clark kept figuring them out. You think you've got her trapped, Trammell said, and then she throws a pass no one else would even see. That kind of statement doesn't come from hype. It comes from experience. It's what happens when you've tried everything to stop someone and realized you just can't. Even Sandy Brondello, head coach of the New York Liberty, gave her credit after their matchup. Brondello said, "She sees things before they happen." That's scary for a rookie. That kind of basketball IQ isn't normal.
But as you said, particularly as that playmaker, facilitator, they're putting the ball in her hands. She loves the back cut. She's created a lot of points for the Fever in that, but also the fake handoffs, her ability to go one-on-one. I've been really impressed with that. I've seen her bring the ball up. Maybe you'll see that tomorrow a little bit more too. Put her in a lot of 5 out and let them go to work. But she certainly has grown, and I think just confidence and putting in the hard work is paying off.
And when a veteran coach points it out, it means you're playing the game at a level most rookies never reach. Then came Los Angeles Sparks head coach Curt Miller. After his team faced Indiana, he couldn't help but praise what he saw. "She's the real deal," Miller said after the game. "She makes reads like a veteran and plays with a poise you can't teach." He noted that she handled pressure, made adjustments, and still found ways to control the game's tempo. And then he added something that summed up what many coaches were realizing. You can't prepare for her field. She's got an instinct that makes everything around her work.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to say anything that you haven't heard. I mean, she is elite, and she is one special player. Things that stand out to me that have been around the game for 35 years, she plays with great pace. She plays with a great tempo first. She is an elite passer. She is an elite passer. She sees things before they develop. And she can really read things.
Coming from a coach who's known for his defensive schemes, that was another layer of validation. Clark wasn't just surviving, she was winning minds. Then there's Breanna Stewart, the two-time MVP, Olympic gold medalist, and one of the most respected players in the world. When asked about Caitlin Clark, Stewart didn't talk about hype or fame. She said, "You can't teach what she has, the vision, the confidence, the way she embraces big moments." That's not just respect. It's recognition from someone who's been where Caitlin is now.
I mean, I think, like, in the moment, it was like shot clock was going down, right? I know she wants to go left to shoot the three. So trying to be as close as I can, but she was deep out there. And when she made it, she was just kind of like laughing, and I was laughing. Like, it was a great shot. It was a tough shot, and it's one of those ones where you're like, you know, and you go to the other end. And I'm happy. I'm seeing a lot of great sportsmanship. Love that.
Stewart knows what it's like to be the face of a new era, and she understands the weight that.
So we're going to end this here because I find this music annoying, but I find the video worth watching. Okay, so it isn't my music. It's in the damn video. They should have just either turned it down lower or left it out entirely. I wouldn't mind, but when some of these videos are made, they choose some of the worst music I've ever heard in my life. Although I don't think they think it's the worst music that they've ever heard in their lives. So that's basically where we are right now, okay? I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the big bad villains of the Indiana Fever did not prevent Caitlin Clark from working out with this guy, okay? All right, this guy had an opportunity. He was invited by Caitlin Clark to Indiana, where she was with her team, and he chose not to make the trip. Now, whether she chooses to make the trip to New York in the off season will be up to Caitlin Clark, okay? But I certainly don't think that she sees working out with this guy as a make or break thing for her next season, all right? So that's all we're going to talk about tonight. I do have video clips for tomorrow night, which I want to keep for tomorrow night because I have a long work day tomorrow. I have a, 7:30 to 6 p.m. work day. And then I've got to pick my daughter up at work at 9 o'clock tomorrow night and get her home. So my video will be made between the time I get home from work and the time I leave the house again. So I do have a great Caitlin Clark video clip tomorrow night. But I wanted to dispel some myths, make sure people understand that, everything that gets said in the comments that I pick up on that I think are kind of based on half-truths or untruths. No insult to you folks, because this information is being fed to you, okay? But I check everything because that's just in my nature, okay? And that's why I'm here, all right? So I look at every freaking comment every day, okay? I will probably look again tonight before I go to bed. And I just want to make sure people understand that there are people out there that understand just exactly who Caitlin Clark is and respect her, okay? And that this whole officiating problem is not just about Caitlin Clark. It's about other people. There's a whole league of women. There were women, the coaches, who exploded during the playoffs over the way the officiating was being handled. Okay? They have raised this up to the Grand Poobah, the commissioner. Okay? And now it will be up to her and the NBA to deal with it, because the NBA has the controlling interest in the WNBA. Okay? So this is an issue. I'm sure it's going to be part of the conversation during the collective bargaining agreement. I know that Engelbert put together some kind of a officiating commission. I will look for information on that tomorrow. Maybe I can give you an update on that. I haven't even looked, to be honest with you. My point was that this can't be positioned as a we need to protect Caitlin Clark issue. It's got to cover all of the league, every player, okay? Because there are other players who are also bearing the brunt of that, okay? And I'm sorry, I'm going to say this. We cannot attribute Caitlin Clark's injuries to anyone beating up on her, okay? There have been other players who have had these injuries and have never made that claim. There is no way to tell. I was at the game in Boston, okay, where they played the Sun, and on that last shot where she pulled up, I watched her limp. No one was near her, okay? I'm willing to give you the fact that I believe JC Sheldon is a dirty player. I've seen it with other players. I've seen her do it to other players. But nobody was near her, Caitlin Clark, when she pulled up on that last groin injury. And she was upset because she knew it was not a good one. That's why she had the towel over her head. That's why she didn't want anyone to see her crying. She wasn't crying because she got beaten up. She was crying because she was upset, because she knew she would be out of commission again. And she had already suffered through 3 or 4 of these. So let me just say that. She was injured during the preseason, okay? During the game with Brazil, she was in the walkway sitting on a stationary bike in between her stints on the court. So she had this problem going into the season. All right? It's hard to pinpoint where you get these injuries. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.